I'd like to call to order the February 4th, 2014 regular scheduled meeting of the Davie County Board of Education. At this time, I would ask for a motion to adopt the agenda. I have a motion by Mr. Drexler. Do I have a second? Have a second by Ms. Horn. All in favor? Motion carries 6-0. At this time, I'll ask for a motion to go into closed session, and I will read this information. The board will go into closed session to preserve the attorney-client privilege pursuant to North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A, 3, to discuss personnel matters protected by state law, and North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A6 to discuss student matters made confidential by North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A1 and FERPA law. Do I have a motion? Have a motion by Mr. Drexler. Do I have a second? I have a second by Ms. Horn. All in favor? 6-0. We're now in closed session. I would like to reconvene the February 4th, 2014 regular meeting of the Davie County Board of Education and welcome everybody here. I'm going to start with Barbara Owens is not with us tonight. Her husband's having some health-related issues. I just want to let everybody know that, so please keep her in your thoughts and prayers. At this time, if you will, please bow for the invocation. As we gather this afternoon, I express thanks for this day and all of its blessings. I ask this board to be mindful of the business we are about to undertake. We are thankful for everyone in attendance today. Further, we are thankful for the opportunity to govern and the freedoms we enjoy. We pause to remember the students, faculty members, and families in our system and community who are facing challenges. Our positive thoughts are with them. As always, we seek wisdom to make the best decisions for the students and citizens of Davie County. Amen. At this time, I'll ask the Cub Scout Troop Pack 574 from First United Methodist Church to come forward.
You're going to come right to the front? We'd love to have it. Excellent.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
At this time, we're moving to the period in the meeting where we approve the minutes from previous meetings. At this time, we have minutes from the regular meeting of January the 7th, 2014. I'll ask for a motion to approve those. We have a motion by Ms. Livengood. We have a second by Mr. Drexler. All in favor? 6-0. Next, we will point out some important dates. And first, let me say that the Board of Education meetings are televised, and they're televised on Tuesdays and Saturdays at 10 a.m. and at 7 p.m. on Yadtel Channel 25 and Time Warner Cable Channel 6. I just wanted to point that out so that everyone would know. If you would like to watch, you can find them on those days. We have a few things happening here in February. The next thing will be at 3:45 on the 13th here in this room. We'll have our district spelling bee. And then on February the 20th, the Board of Education will have lunch at the Early College And then we have, that afternoon at 5:30, we'll have an advisory council meeting at Canancer with Shady Grove, Canancer, and Ellis Middle School. And I have one announcement here for the board. If you participated in the NCSBA webinar today, please let Jean know so that she can process the paperwork to make sure everybody gets their training credit hours. And now I will turn it over to Dr. Hartness.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have several things to update the board on tonight, and I'd ask the staff to switch the screen to my computer. As you know, last week we had significant inclement weather issues, and what I wanted to do tonight is just kind of outline how that took place, and as well as several other issues I want to address with you. Last Tuesday, when the inclement weather arrived, we dismissed school at 12:30, so we have credit for that day. On Wednesday, January 28th, that must have been 27th. I have my date wrong up there. The 28th, January 28th, Wednesday, we had no school for staff or students, and we made up that day this past Saturday on February the 1st. I shared with the board that we had 76% attendance on Saturday. On a typical day, we have 95 to 96% attendance. I know that there is no good day to make up a school day, but I was impressed with what I saw when I visited 5 of our 12 schools on Saturday. Appreciate everybody working together to make that a successful school day for students. Also, this past Thursday, we had no school for students with an optional teacher workday, and we proposed that we follow the calendar that you adopted and the calendar committee brought to you and make that day up on March the 28th. That's our next optional teacher workday that was in the calendar. And on the 27th, we had a scheduled early release day, and we proposed that we move that to the 28th so that we do professional development that Friday afternoon instead of Thursday afternoon. Friday, we had a 3-hour delay, and we were able to get the school day completed, and then Saturday again was our makeup day. I want to say thank you to all the staff who worked behind the scenes to have our schools ready when we were able to open our schools back up. All of our staff from maintenance and transportation, the many hours they put in making sure that our school facilities are ready, that they're safe, our buses are safe. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that we and the public don't quite see all the time. But there's a lot of people working, and I appreciate that. So, board, do you have any questions about how we're handling makeup days or concerns? So we will announce that March 28th will be our next makeup day, and we'll move our early release from March 27th to March the 28th. I talked with you last month briefly and shared that we would be talking this month about the 25% selection process that was in legislation. We had scheduled a meeting with our teachers of the year and principals last week to talk about the selection process. That meeting was canceled, so we didn't get a chance to get that feedback from our staff. So what I'm proposing is that we pick that up in March. We have plenty of time to address that. And in between now and March, we will talk with our staff, and we've already scheduled another meeting to discuss that selection process and bring you a draft selection process as well as some sample resolutions that we see in other school districts related to this selection process that the board and the superintendent will have to decide how we handle between now and the end of the school year. Jill can also be a great advisor to this process. She's been intimately involved in the whole issue in the 3 other school districts that she serves, as well as at a state level of developing a model contract for teachers. So we will plan to have a discussion and a business item about this 25% selection process at our next meeting. This is a topic that's been on a lot of people's mind and a lot of conversation in our community and across the state. And it's the North Carolina Read to Achieve law that was part of 2011 legislation that was slated to go into effect this year. And if you recall, board, several months ago, Dr. Cartner described this process of 3rd grade reading and how we assess 3rd grade reading, what good cause exemptions were in place for 3rd grade reading, The fact that if a third grader was not proficient at the end of the year on the end of grade test, did not have a good cause exemption, they would be invited to a reading summer camp, and they could possibly be retained if they weren't proficient in third grade reading. The Department of Public Instruction developed a portfolio process, and that portfolio process, they developed 120 passages to send out to school districts. And out of that 120 passages, our teachers were to select 36 passages, 3 for each of the 12 standards in third grade reading, to administer to our third grade students. And if our third grade students were proficient on those passages, then that would be a good cause exemption and a safety net if they were not to pass the end of grade exam at the end of the school year. We did not see those passages until they came out after Christmas. What we have discovered is the passages, in our opinion, in our professional opinion, were not grade level appropriate. They were much higher grade level than third grade. Our students were struggling significantly with the passages. Our teachers were frustrated that every Wednesday became a testing day for us. And we were in the same boat as a lot of other school districts in the state. You know, we started implementing a process that was developed by the state that just was not working. I had conversations as the chairman of our Piedmont Triad Education Consortium with my colleagues, other superintendents. There's 15 school districts in our region. And we said, this is not working. This is not working for any of our school districts, and we need a better solution. So we talked about the different things that were being done in the region, the way that we were assessing reading. We have all been using the M-Class Reading 3D assessments. That was a valid and reliable assessment adopted by the state board in 2012. Other districts are using other assessments like the Iowa Test of Basic Skills. There are some districts using the MAP assessment. There are some districts that are using their own developed assessments. And we decided as a region to write a letter to the State Board of Education and request that we could use our own assessments in lieu of the portfolio process that was developed by the Department of Public Instruction. You have linked to this agenda item a copy of the letter that I submitted on behalf of the 15 school districts in our region that was agreed upon by those superintendents. That letter is before the State Board of Education tomorrow in their committees and is on the agenda to be approved on Thursday. So once the State Board acts on that, I believe there are 14 other school districts as well as our 15 school district consortium who have submitted requests for alternative assessments other than a portfolio. Last week, after seeing what a mess this was with the implementation that was designed by the department, I suspended the portfolio process in our district. It was not working for our students. It was not working for our teachers. So we are waiting for the state board to approve the other assessments that we had been giving. And as soon as they do that, we will drop back and look at how we assess reading in the third grade and determine proficiency. So we were very concerned about the readability of the passages. We were concerned about the loss of instructional time every week. I don't know if you all have heard, but I've heard from parents who were concerned about the reading passages and students losing the joy of reading because we were testing them so much. So that's the reason we suspended that process. I was asked to come to Raleigh last week and speak before the Joint Commission on Governmental Operations in the legislature about Read to Achieve. I went down along with Don Phipps from Beaufort County, and we were part of about a 2.5-hour meeting with the legislature of both the House and the Senate to talk about this very issue. And the message that we brought as superintendents is if the Department of Public Instruction, the State Board of Education, and the legislature will give us the flexibility that we need in our school districts, we have professional teachers, reading specialists, and content people who can determine proficiency of third graders in reading. We don't need this cumbersome process that is not working. So we were very well received by the legislature. Some superintendents have met with Senator Berger. Speaker Tillis was chairing this commission last week. So I feel good about where we are. We have rallied very hard for our students and our teachers. And ultimately, I told the legislature, We have the same goal. We want our students reading on grade level. But we need some flexibility. We don't need the legislature mandating that you have to go 72 hours to summer school over a 6-week period of time. That's just one example of how prescriptive the law was. And Senator Berger has been very kind about this. He said, you know what, we want to give you that flexibility. He asked his staff to go ahead and start drafting a bill to amend the law to give us that flexibility. So I feel good about the communication lines that we have with the legislature and with the State Board of Education. And I'm hopeful that the State Board will come out of committee tomorrow and adopt our proposal on Thursday. I would ask that this board authorize our staff and our teachers, once we have approval from the State Board on the letter that we submitted, the approval for the other districts that have submitted alternatives, for us to come back as professional staff to look at what are the best practices across the state? What are some other districts doing to assess reading that maybe we haven't considered? And I would ask this board to give staff the authority to decide which assessments are the best for our third graders and administer those assessments in lieu of the portfolio. So, Mr. Chairman, I had a call from the state superintendent this afternoon just before 3 o'clock, and we talked about this. I had a call from the vice chairman of the state board right before our meeting this afternoon. I feel good about where we are, but I feel like it would be good if this board, and I didn't put this on the agenda item because all this has transpired so quickly, I would ask our board to endorse not only the letter we submitted, but give our staff the authorization to select the most appropriate, valid, and reliable assessments for our third graders.
Do we need to formally have a motion and vote on that, or do we just want to?
Yeah,
Is
I
that
would ask
okay?
someone to move that you do that and take that vote.
Okay, do we have a motion to honor Dr. Hartness's request?
Dr. Hartness, can I ask you to word would you make a clear and concise statement that allows us to vote so that you get your situation solved?
I'll do my best, Mr. Drexler. Thank you. I would suggest that the board endorse the letter submitted to the State Board of Education, as well as authorize the staff to select valid and reliable assessments for our third grade students.
Do we have a motion by Mr. Drexler? Do we have a second? We have a second by Ms. Horn. All in favor? 6-0.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
I think that our teachers and principals will appreciate that flexibility. The last thing I have to share with you this evening is on Friday afternoon or Friday evening, I received an email from the county manager with 5 additional questions from the county commissioners related to the school bond. And I've looked over those in the process of drafting a response to the county manager, and I wanted to share with you tonight what those questions were and a summary. I haven't finished the final letter, and I'll share that with you when I send it to the county manager, but a summary of the responses. So I received these questions on Friday afternoon. They were from a commissioner and a concerned citizen. I'm not sure who that was, but I'm not sure that that really matters. What we want to do is answer the questions, and we welcome questions about the school bond and about the school facility issue, and we want to do that. What I found a little interesting is that a lot of these questions we've already answered before. So we'll try to go through these and address those one by one. Again, there's 5 questions. Question number 1 was, has there been a phase 1 environmental study done on the property, and if so, is a copy of the report available? More specifically, how are wetlands addressed? And my response to the manager will be, this question or a similar one was posed to us back in May, and we made the full set of civil engineering drawings available for inspection, and I never received a single call for anyone to come and inspect those plans. So was there a phase 1 environmental study done? Yes, and we have a copy of that on file. It's available for inspection, And we'd be glad to share that with anyone who wanted to come by and take a look at it. Are wetlands addressed in the Phase 1 assessment? Wetlands are natural resources, and they have to be protected. They're not an environmental hazard that would be studied or addressed in a Phase 1 environmental assessment. A Phase 1 environmental assessment would be looking for hazardous materials that might be on the site or underground tanks or fuel tanks or whatever it might be. They're not addressing wetlands. But the site plans that were developed for the site on Farmington Road in 2010 did not propose building anything on the less than 1/2 acre of wetlands out of the 53 acres on the site. It protects the wetlands with silt fence during construction, and none of that is utilized. So it was very much considered as part of the site process. The Phase 1 environmental assessment says, quote, "No evidence of recognized environmental conditions in connection with this property." So Phase 1 environmental assessment clears the property. As I've stated to the commissioners before, and they have a letter from John Gray that the county manager requested. The county commissioners and the Board of Education requested a study of this site in 2009, and that was done. And all those reports are available, I'm sure, in either the inspections department of the county government or the zoning department of county government. But we also have those available for inspection if someone would like to look at those. The site was completely approved, whatever that process is. I wasn't here during that time period, but the site, has a set of sealed drawings, civil engineering drawings that are in my office for inspection anytime. Shouldn't be any questions about that. Question number 2, and I don't quite follow this question, so this is exactly how it was from the email. There was a report handed out, I believe came with the Little study. The pages I've already referenced as the Davie County High School Avenue A continue to expand, and I'll just let you, I don't want to read to you because it doesn't flow real well, but you can see the question relates to the cost estimate for Avenue A that the Little study outlines. And it says, can you provide information on what additional work was included in this number and verify the numbers came from the Little study? What I will do is provide, I don't debate the numbers that are in the question, but I'll provide exactly what the Little architectural firm gave the Board of Education as a cost estimate that they updated in May 2012 for Avenue A in that Little study. So yes, the estimates were from the Little study. We don't have a detailed breakdown because Little did not continue to further explore the option since it became obvious to them that it was the least feasible and least cost-effective of the 3 avenues that they had examined. They outlined significant limitations to using the existing high school site. So I will supply that summary with this question. Question number 3 says, a redistricting plan is to be included with the construction of the new high school. Can a copy of the plan be provided, and will the plan reveal how redistricting will reduce the capital needs at all schools? No, a redistricting plan is not to be included with the construction of a new high school. I'm not sure where this comes from. The plan is for 1 new high school for all of Davie County, not 2 schools. And with 1 high school to serve the entire county, there's only 1 attendance zone. So I'm not sure the basis of that question. Question number 4. It has been brought to our attention that the quarry across from the site of the proposed school provides everyone coming on the property with a written warning that the air at the quarry contains crystalline silica known to cause lung damage and lung disease, including lung cancer. Do you have any studies of the air quality of the proposed site to verify that the danger of breathing these silica don't exist? I'm not sure who submitted this question, but Commissioner Humphrey has asked me this question before, and I've responded to him before. I know that one of our citizens brought this up at the commissioners' meeting last night, but here's the answer to this question. In the past 5 years, Vulcan material has been monitored We contacted the Department of Natural Resources, we contacted the EPA. We were directed to the compliance and monitoring reports that are on their websites. We found that they were in compliance in both air and water quality. They've always maintained all necessary permits. They've had no reports of noncompliance, no complaints, no findings as a result of any monitoring, and they haven't been assessed any fines for noncompliance in any area. And we've previously provided the commissioners with those monitoring and compliance reports. This issue was addressed in the Phase 1 environmental assessment that was conducted in October of 2009, and it indicated that Vulcan was not likely to have any impact on the site. Now, what I find ironic is that I've never been questioned by the Board of Commissioners or anyone else about concerns for the students who have attended school at North Davie Middle School since 1982, or the students at Pine Brook Elementary, and that school opened the year I was born in 1969, or the children who were involved in outdoor, unfiltered recreational activities just behind North Davie at the Little League fields, or behind Pine Brook Elementary School. North Davie is across the road. It's less than a half a mile from the center of the quarry. Pine Brook is 4,000 feet from the center of the quarry, and the Board of Education's property at Pine Brook Elementary adjoins the back of that industrial site. So I wanted to show you a map of the two pieces of property that the Board of Education owns. This is North Davie Middle School. This is Pine Brook Elementary School. Again, you know how long those schools have been there. This is the quarry, and this is the proposed high school site right here. So we have two educational facilities already in close proximity to the quarry, and it's ironic to me that we've never been questioned or there's never been any concerns about children in those schools. So I'm not sure what the basis of that question would be. Question 5 has nothing to do with the school. It has to do with an editorial in the newspaper last week, which I find also very interesting. In an editorial in the local paper, there was reference to 26 staff members in the central office clerical staff that received local funding. Can you explain why so many? And as I read this, I assume that whoever wrote the question from the commissioners believed the editorial, because they said, can you explain why so many? Please provide information on how many positions are funded with local funds and what percentage of each salary does local funding provide. So the letter to the editor last week related to this issue, published on January 29th, is not accurate. I would ask the question, was the editorial intended to misinform the public by stating that Dr. Hartness pays 26 additional members of the central office clerical staff with local funds? I would question the intent of the writer. Were they pulling down a state report and not knowing what they were reading, or interpreting that report and drawing their own conclusions based on their personal or political beliefs? I question those things. But here's the answer to the question. Do we have 26 additional members of the central office clerical staff with local funds? Well, there's one number right here, and it's not 26, it's 6. There are 6 employees in the Cherry Street Administrative Office who are paid with local funds, not 26. There aren't even 26 total employees that work in the office that I work in. So I hope that the public and the commissioners will see that this editorial was false and that it was not filled with accurate information, but I will supply the accurate information in my response to the county manager. So I'm glad we had an opportunity to address this misinformation. I know that if these questions are coming from our commissioners, then they may be questions out in the community, and I hope that the citizens in Davie County will see that we have provided the answers and we've been transparent. So, Mr. Chairman, that's all I have for my update tonight.
I got a question. Will we, prior to you sending this back to the county manager, will we get a copy of the answers first?
Absolutely. I can
First,
send
yeah.
that to you.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Hartness, for the report. Thank you for all the updates on Read to Achieve and all your hard work. And I want to commend everybody for all the hard work on the snow days. I know has been a challenge and for everybody involved, and also thank you for providing that information for the community and the commissioners. We appreciate that. At this time, it's our time for our consent agenda, and I will ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda. Have a motion by Mr. Junker. Do I have a second? Have a second by Mr. Drexler. All in favor? Motion passes 6-0. At this time, we're moving on to business items, and the first is the contract for audit services, and I will turn that over to Deborah.
Thank you, Chairman Fuller, members of the board, Dr. Hartness. We have 5 business items this evening, and I'll start with the audit contract. You have in your packet a copy of the contract with the engagement letter that you've had for your review. Anderson, Smith & Wyke has submitted a 3-year fee proposal and performed our annual audit last year and the year before. The fee for June 30, 2014 audit is $28,900. That's just an increase of just only $700, which is very reasonable. Our recommendation is that you approve the audit contract and fee proposal as presented.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the audit report and the contract for the audit services as Ms. Smink has asked? We have a motion by Ms. Livengood. Do we have a second? We have a second by Ms. Horn. Do we have any discussion? If we have no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? 6-0, motion passes.
Okay, our next item is the Race to the Top Laptop Award and Purchase. Just a little background information here. Our Race to the Top allotment, funds were budgeted to procure laptops to be used to deliver online assessments. An RFP was issued, bids were opened and tallied on January 24th. You have in your packet the bid tabulation sheet for your review, and the low bid was Tiber Creek Consulting. We've checked with the state and federal debarment websites, which is a requirement of spending of ARA funds, and we've received a statement from Tiber Creek Consulting acknowledging that they understand and will be in compliance with the rules for the receipt of American Recovery and Reinvestment Act funds. And based on their bid, we ask that you approve the Tiber Creek Consulting bid of $957.59 per laptop, and that includes tax and shipping.
Excuse me. I have a quick question. This is actually the bid is advertised through or you work that process out through this IPS state system?
Correct. That is a requirement of the use of federal funds, of how we're required to advertise the bids, and we've followed all the requirements of the use of ARA funds.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Smink.
I assume that we got enough money through the funds to cover the full cost of this.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
So we have a recommendation from Ms. Smink to award or purchase these items from the Tiber Creek Consulting Group. Do we have a motion for that request? Approve that request. We have a motion by Mr. Junker. Do we have a second? We have a second by Mr. Drexler. Any discussion? Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Vote passes 6-0.
Thank you. Our next business item is the Shady Grove Rooftop HVAC Unit Replacement. Bids for the HVAC units were opened January 30th. The bid tabulation sheet was attached for your reference. The low bid is Professional Air Systems out of Rural Hall, North Carolina, and the total bid was $42,037. This is, we requested the use of lottery funds in the budget that you approved last June in the amount of $69,300 for this project. As you can see, we're well under budget, and any unspent lottery funds will be returned to the state for future use. It is our request that you approve the professional air systems bid in the amount of $42,037.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just clarify, Ms. Meek said that they would be returned to the state for future use, but it goes back into our account from the
Correct.
state, so it wouldn't go back to the state. It stays in our lottery account
Yeah.
and can be reallocated for other projects. Correct?
That's absolutely correct. We have a balance that's kept with the state under the name of Davie County Schools.
Thank you for clearing that up. So we have a request to approve the low bid from Professional Air Systems of Rural Hall, $42,037 for the HVAC project at Shady Grove. Do I have a motion? I have a motion from Ms. Horn. Do I have a second? Have a second by Mr. Drexler. Do we have any discussion?
I've got one general question. Can someone just explain to me, we've got 3 HVAC projects. How does that trigger? I mean, these obviously aren't failed units, but can you do that briefly?
This is, these are correct. We have a program and we monitor, and there's a timeline as far as replacing these units, and these units on these 3 buildings have basically met their useful life, and it's time for their replacement. And they're all rooftop, those big rooftop units.
And they're roughly how, they vary in age, I'm sure.
They do, Mr. Junko. I've got that as part of the facility study we did. We put that 10-year spreadsheet together, and it's all in that spreadsheet. I don't recall the age of them right now.
I think I'll add too, I've had a little discussion with Mr. Spillman about this, and I think that there's some trigger in age and maintenance cost in repairs and those kind of things trigger the need for purchase. I think it's the way
Correct.
he's explained it to me.
Can you tell me what happens to the units that are taken off the roofs?
No. Michael Spillman is at home in the bed sick. That's my answer right now, but I can find out.
Yeah, we'll find
We'll
that.
find
Sure, I'll find out.
I'm old, but I don't want to be replaced because I'm supposed to be wearing out too
I
soon.
And I understand. I can assure you that, and this has been referenced before in our meetings and in our facilities report, that we get, because of our maintenance of what we do with these, we have exceeded the expectation of most all of our units that I'm aware of.
Yeah, and again, I think the trigger point is the repair and maintenance cost is a trigger for those, the need for those replacements, is the way he's explained that to me. I've asked the question.
I knew we had a similar program with the roofs that we do.
Correct.
I didn't realize we had these air conditioning units. I would say efficiency of the units would,
Well, play a part,
Play
I
a
think
part
that.
of it, too.
Yeah, and the maintenance cost, kind of like the roof. too.
Right, it has a lot to do with it. You're
Yeah.
exactly right, Ms. Right now.
So
Okay, will you approve the,
we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries 6-0.
thank you. Our next business item is the Central Davie Education Center HVAC replacement. Bids were opened also January 30th, and the tab sheet is attached for your reference. The low bid was Professional Air Systems out of Rural Hall, North Carolina, with a total bid of $25,127. You budgeted $66,000 of the half-cent sales tax revenue that we received from the county for this project. So, as you can see, again, we came in under budget. These unused funds can be rebudgeted and used for other capital outlay projects in the future, should you choose to do so, which in the next business item, you may choose to do so. It is our request that you approve the professional air systems bid of $25,127.
So we have a request to approve the low bid from Professional Air Systems of Rural Hall for $25,127 for the HVAC project at Central Davie Education Center. Do I have a motion? I have a motion by Mr. Drexler. I have a second by Mr. Junker. Do we have any discussion? Okay, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Motion carries 6-0.
Okay, our final business item this evening is the William R. Davie Cafeteria HVAC replacement. Again, these bids were open January 30th. You have the bid tabulation sheet for your review. The low bid is Commercial Air Systems out of Elkin, North Carolina. The total bid is $57,000. The board requested the use of lottery funds in the amount of $35,000 when we initially budgeted for this project. After discussions with the engineers and and DPI, the scope of the work was changed to meet the outdoor air requirements. And the change in the scope is what's resulted in the higher costs. So in order for you to approve this project, we'll need to budget an additional $22,000 of, again, as I just said, of some of the unspent funds from the previous project could be reappropriated for this, this project here at William R. Davie. And it is our request that you approve the Commercial Air Systems bid of $57,000 and amend the budget to move $22,000 from the Central Davie Education Center HVAC project line item in the budget and move it to the William R. Davie Cafeteria HVAC replacement line item.
I don't know that I'm going to repeat all that,
Okay.
but
And as you can
But-
see by the numbers, there's still
yeah.
money that is
Well-
unspent when you look at all three projects
Right.
together.
That sounds good. Mr. Spillman and I had a discussion about this as well. He said there was a change in scope
Correct.
between the time that the budget was put together and once he consulted with DPI and the engineer that
Yeah.
decided that there needed to be some additional duct work ran, those kinds of things.
Yeah,
That
at this
created-
point, it is about 9 months since that budget was put
Right,
together, so.
right. So do we have a motion to grant this request for the William R. Davie Cafeteria HVAC project? We have a motion from Mr. Junker. Do we have a second? We have a second by Ms. Horn. Do we have any discussion?
Why is it significantly more expensive at William R. Davie cafeteria than it is at the other two sites?
Because that's what we were just talking about. There was a scope change. Basically, the way he's explained it to me, there was, instead of just replacing the unit, they actually had to change some duct work to bring some more makeup air in to meet the requirements that they needed to meet for DPI. It's the way he explained it to me.
Correct. All these projects are reviewed by engineers at the Department of Public Instruction. So not only do our engineers that we've hired review these projects, but also DPI's engineers review the projects. And it's because of the recommendations from those engineers that we've hired and the DPI engineers that we've needed to change the scope of the work to be performed at that site.
Right, and that happened after the budget was put together to do the work. Do we have any other questions? So we have a motion and a second on the floor. Seeing no further questions, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I got a question, and I'm not going to ask you to answer it tonight, but do you have any idea what our unencumbered lottery fund balance might be?
I do not have an exact number, but I'll get that for you and I'll share it with the board
Okay.
the next day or so.
Thank you, Ms. Meek. At this time, we've come to the public address to the board section. Ms. Wilson, do we have anybody signed up?
I'm afraid to say you do not have anyone signed up, so hopefully next month someone will have something to tell you.
Thank you so much. Now we're moving on to our committee and staff reports. First, we have a human resources report, and I'm assuming that Mr. Wallace is going to take care of that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Board, as you can see, in your, there, that the early college calendar be presented for you to review and look at. And we typically do develop this calendar after the other calendar to try to accommodate as many days as possible. And I'll be glad to try to address any questions if there are any pertaining to this calendar.
Do we have any questions? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Wallace. Next on the committee staff reports agenda is curriculum, and Ms. Noel Grady-Smith taking care of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to draw your attention, board members, to the section on becoming a totally responsible person. This is a new plan curriculum that we have. We are targeting our sixth graders. As you know, when you transition from elementary school to middle school, there are a few new factors to absorb in your life, and we felt that character education that really pointed toward responsibility, toward developing the whole person, judgment patterns, responding to peer pressure, how to respond to any bullying, how to identify that, how to proceed with a self-assured capacity that decision-making was something that young people in the sixth grade are capable of. The aspect of this project that impresses us the most is that Dr. Sanford Danziger has presented this in a formal way to many companies on a national level. It has been a project that he is undertaking with great zeal, and they have acquired national recognition. He was attracted to our school system because of our motto, our vision of becoming a national example of how to school a child in grades K through 12 or 14, if you consider our early college, and came to us and said, we really like what we read about Davie County Schools on the website. We'd like to ask you questions, and they've spent time with us. They've now formed a partnership with us, which allows us to have some of the materials at reduced cost. We have some community investment in this. We have a contributor who wanted specifically to work on an anti-bullying curriculum, and this has that embedded in it. So he's making monthly contributions to us from his business. We also have applied for a Davie Foundation grant. We're hoping to work with the Workforce Development Commission on acquiring more funding for this, and we feel very positive about this being an approach that will benefit our sixth graders. This will not come out of the academic time the students have. It will be embedded in their health classes, primarily focusing on mental health, decision-making, et cetera. And there's a pretty accurate description all the way through, and I've listed a couple of the websites for you to go to if you have additional questions. We will plan to continue this into seventh grade year, so students will have a sixth grade experience, and then that will then be picked up and revisited in some more advanced ways in seventh grade. So we're very excited about this and look for you to have a good report as we move forward.
Thank you so much. Do we have any questions? Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's exciting. At this time, we will have the donations report from Ms. Meek.
Thank you, Chairman Fuller, members of the board. Dr. Hartness, you have before you this evening our donations report showing the donations we've received in the last month. And as you can see, again, we have some very generous members of our community and organizations that continue to support the schools, and we thank them.
Absolutely, absolutely. It, as I've said many times, it takes a community. It certainly does. At this time, we're moving on to board comments, and I think Mr. Junker is first.
It's no secret, I struggle with this part, because who wants to hear me talk? So I would say thank you, but also feel inclined to say that the next few months are going to be challenging for all of us, not just people sitting on a board, but for you as well. We've got an opportunity to make a real difference in this county, and it's going to take people talking to each other, not about each other. We've got a lot of smart people, and most of the smart people I know don't necessarily sit on boards. It's business people, it's the community leaders behind the scenes that do a lot, and I just ask that everyone tries to talk to each other, again, instead of about each other, and we can achieve a tremendous amount if we would just work together and listen. We can make a difference. So, thank you.
I'd just like to echo Clint's statements. That was very well said. I also would like to thank you for taking the lead that you did in terms of trying to represent parents and students regarding Read to Achieve, because I know I've heard a lot about that. A lot of parents who are upset, feel like their kids are going to school and then because of this are coming home not liking school. So so I appreciate you being involved to find a better solution for that. I appreciate you taking the time to answer those questions. I apologize for you having to answer those questions, considering last week you were dealing with the Read to Achieve. I think you went to Raleigh, 3 times last week? On top of inclement weather and dealing with trying to figure out when our kids could go to school and make up time. So I hate you had to do that, but we appreciate you doing that and doing it so quickly. So not to let any grass grow under our feet. So thank you, and appreciate everybody who came out tonight. We will see you next month.
Several things have come up. Recently, I overheard a part of a conversation, not enough to give any details, but I was really, really proud to hear the people that were having this conversation as they discussed what they thought was the important end product of our school system. They recognized that a lot of our students graduated and went on to colleges and universities, but that there was another segment of the population moving into the workforce. And obviously, one of the people in this meeting was a business partner with the school system here. And he was very pleased to know that the students came out and graduated that were going into the workforce, that they would continue, and the school system would continue to support their ability to communicate with others, to be able to think on their own, and to be able to learn so that they can go as quickly as possible from a school setting into a work setting. It was a neat conversation for me to have. I leaned in, but I couldn't hear it so much. I'd also like to comment on the donations. Donations to the school system, either tiny little numbers or there's some really big numbers from individuals and businesses. So I'm really proud to be in a system in a county where people support the schools like they do. I applaud Dr. Hartness, your participation in that 3rd grade, Read to Achieve, trips to Raleigh, all of that to do. I've heard from some folks that I have friends in other counties, and their school board members are hearing that and dealing with those challenges as well. I had a blast attending a graduation program at Central Davie Academy a couple weeks ago. Chad and I were there. Hats off, pats on the back. Please extend for me a congratulations and a thank you to Beth Weatherman for the work she did to pull that event off, and Mr. Wallace for attending and supporting that as well. That was a neat thing. Thank you for your attendance tonight, for your interest in the school system, for your support of the system and the members up here, staff in the schools, teachers in the schools, and keep getting your little children where they belong. Thank you. Safely.
I want to thank each one of you for coming out tonight, and I want to say a special thanks to the young man that led in the Pledge of Allegiance. Took a lot of courage to stand up in a Cub Scout pack by himself, but he done a great job, and you know, really proud of him. And again, I appreciate you coming out, your dedication to Davie County Schools, and look forward to seeing you next month. Thanks.
I guess when you're last, pretty much everything else has been said. But I would like to commend Clint for what he said about the next few months. There are going to be a lot of debate, and we know that. But I love what he said about talking to one another. And, you know, last night I attended the commissioners' meetings, and I was very pleased that the commissioners did vote to put our request on a bond in May. And I felt the sense that everyone was there for the same reason. They want accurate numbers. They want to see what this is going to cost them. And I think that's the way to do this, is that we work together, we talk to each other, and we make sure that those accurate numbers are out there. Then I just will end on one little positive note. Steve, don't mess me up. Or Paul. Okay.
You don't have your hearing aids?
No, my hearing aids are gone, and no, I was just in a situation and with some people. Nobody knew who I was, and I really didn't know them. But there was a lady there, and she had children at North Davie, and I'm sure this could be in any school in our county. But she was sharing with the other people in the room what North Davie did for her and her children at Christmas. And it made me so proud. I never did tell her I resided in Davie County or that I had anything to do with Davie County schools, but she went on and on and on about what that school has been for her and her family. And I think any one of you would have been so proud to be in this county had you been there. So I'll just end on that positive note and look forward to seeing you all next month.
Thank you. Thanks for all the comments. I would like to say first thanks to everyone for coming out tonight. It's nice to see people taking an interest in Davie County schools. I think it's important. And I want to thank everybody for all their hard work. Again, thank you for all your leadership and hard work representing us as a system and as a region in Raleigh, and we appreciate that. And I guess that's all I have. And at this point, I will ask for a motion to adjourn. We have a motion by Mr. Drexler. Do we have a second? We have a second by Ms. Horn. All in favor? 6-0. We're adjourned.